Hi guys, and welcome to this tutorial where we'll be looking at everything you need to know about interior angles. So what is an interior angle? Well, simply put, an interior angle is an angle inside a shape. Now when we talk about the interior angles of a polygon, what we're referring to are the angles that you can find inside the vertices of a polygon. Okay, so here we have some shapes, and these are the interior angles of all of these shapes. Okay, so as you can see, inside each vertex, you can see the interior angles. Now, a question you might ask is, what's the sum of the interior angles of each respective shape? How would you find that? Well, I'd like to assume that you already know that the sum of angles inside a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Now, if you didn't already know that, just take my word for it. It doesn't matter whether it's a regular or irregular triangle. The sum of angles inside of the triangle will always be equal to 180 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this fact to calculate the sum of angles in these other shapes. Now notice that you can split each of these shapes into triangles. So we can split the square into 2 triangles. We can also split the pentagon into 3 triangles, and we can split the hexagon into 4 different triangles. Okay, now using the fact that the sum of interior angles inside a triangle is equal to 180 degrees, that allows us to calculate the sum of interior angles of these shapes. Okay, now as there are 2 triangles that make up a square, it follows that the sum of interior angles inside a square is equal to 180 degrees multiplied by 2, as there are 2 triangles that make up the square, which is equal to 360 degrees. And you'll find that this is the sum of interior angles for any 4-sided polygon. This pentagon is made up of 3 triangles, so the sum of interior angles inside the pentagon would be equal to 180 degrees multiplied by 3, which is equal to 540 degrees. And lastly, this hexagon is made up of 4 triangles, and therefore the sum of interior angles of the hexagon would be equal to 180 degrees multiplied by 4, which is equal to 720 degrees. Now you might have noticed a little pattern which helps you to calculate the sum of interior angles of the next shape. And by the next shape, I mean the shape with 1 extra side. So we started off with a triangle which has a sum of interior angles equal to 180 degrees. To get the sum for the next shape, we simply just add 180 degrees. 180 plus 180 is equal to 360. And to get the sum for the next shape, which is a pentagon, we simply add 180 degrees to 360 degrees, which gives us 540 degrees. So you can find the sum of interior angles for a polygon by continuously adding 180 degrees until you get the polygon with the desired number of sides. However, what if I were to ask you to calculate the sum of interior angles for a polygon with 1,000,000 sides? That would be a really inefficient method. Okay, so we have to try and think about some type of pattern or formula that would help us to easily calculate the sum of interior angles. Now, as we needed to keep adding 180 degrees to get the correct sum, that means that the sum will always be a multiple of 180 degrees. The question is, what do we need to multiply by 180 degrees to get the correct sum? Now, in each case, in these calculations, you can see that the number we needed to multiply was equal to the number of triangles which made up the polygon. So for example, in this square we had 2 triangles, so we multiplied 180 degrees by 2. In this pentagon we had 3 triangles, so we multiplied 180 degrees by 3. And in the hexagon we had 4 triangles, so we multiplied 180 degrees by 4. So how do you find these multipliers written here in black, which represent the number of triangles which make up a polygon? Notice that there's another relationship that we can find, which is between the number of sides of a polygon and the number of triangles which make up that respective polygon. Okay, so notice that in each pair the number of triangles which make up each polygon is always exactly 2 less than the number of sides. And how is that significant? Well, that means that all we need to know is the number of sides of the polygon, and that allows us to find a way to quickly calculate the number of triangles which make up that polygon. Okay, so this allows us to generalize and use a formula to calculate the sum of interior angles for any n-sided polygon. Okay, so for a polygon with n sides, the sum of interior angles would be equal to 180 degrees multiplied by n minus 2, where this n minus 2 is equal to the number of triangles which make up that polygon, which you can quickly calculate from the number of sides. Now let's have a look at some typical questions you might come across when dealing with interior angles of a polygon. Find the sum of interior angles in a regular 50-sided polygon. Okay, so as the number of sides of this polygon is quite large, it would be much more appropriate to use the formula to calculate the sum of interior angles. Okay, so using formula 1, we get that the sum of interior angles is equal to 180 degrees multiplied by 50, which is the number of sides, minus 2, which is equal to 180 degrees multiplied by 48. And if you put this into your calculator, you would get 8,640 degrees. Okay, so the sum of interior angles of a regular 50-sided polygon is equal to 8,640 degrees. Okay, so part B of this question asks us to find the size of each interior angle. So the first important thing to note is that in this question, we've been given a 50-sided polygon, which is regular. So as the polygon is regular, it means that each interior angle inside the polygon is equal. The next important thing to note is that the number of sides in any polygon will always be equal to the number of interior angles inside that polygon. Okay, so if you know the number of sides of the polygon, you know the number of angles, and therefore the number of angles inside this polygon is equal to 50. So using this fact,
it follows that the size of each interior angle
is equal to 8,640 degrees, which is the total sum of interior angles, divided by 50, which is the number of interior angles, which is equal to 172.8 degrees. Okay, so let's have a look at the last question. The sum of interior angles of a polygon is 2,340 degrees. Work out the number of sides of the polygon. Okay, so in this question, we've been given the sum of interior angles and it's equal to 2,340 degrees. We need to find the number of sides of the polygon. Now, in order to do this, we simply need to substitute 2,340 degrees into this equation 1 and solve for n, which is the only unknown variable. So from equation 1, and using the fact that the sum is equal to 2,340 degrees, we get this equation. Okay, so in order to solve for n, we first of all need to divide both sides by 180 degrees, and we get cancelling of terms on the right hand side. 2,340 divided by 180 is equal to 13. Therefore, 13 is equal to n minus 2. In order to solve for n, we need to simply add 2 to both sides, giving us that the number of sides of the polygon is equal to 15. Okay, so in the next tutorial, we'll be looking at exterior angles and their relationship with interior angles. Until then, keep up the good work and I'll see you soon.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, leave your comments down below and subscribe to this channel so you'll be the first to know when we release our next videos.